Welcome back to APAC South. Knights take on Fury. This matchup in particular, very big question marks, very big unknown entities coming into today. The XQ confirmed picked up by Fury, but it's Knights that we'll look at first. It's Knights that we'll talk about first here, Dev, because they really kickstarted 2021 with a fantastic start, and it slowly but surely kind of dwindled away into what it is now.
Yeah, look, Knights in 2021 really achieved some amazing heights. Come stage 2, 6 months ago, they were the best team in APAC South. They punched their ticket direct to the Mexico Major. Then something went very, very wrong. They couldn't go to Mexico. They dropped off in stage 3, and since then have made 2 changes. They are a shell of their former selves, but we know they have all of the components they need to rise to the top once again.
That's it, really. It's just about Knights turning into that inevitable championship team and doing it as big as they did at the start of 2021. A team that really kind of, I think I would say kind of treaded water, Raven, as we turn our attention to the Fury lineup. I do think that they had obviously had their own kind of issues of 21, but they were the most consistent, inconsistent team. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, look, I actually think that is a fair statement to wrap up the Q-Confirm roster of last year. You know, like they had some really big games and they had some really bad games, to be quite frank. It did kind of place them in that mid-table. We've mentioned it a lot in the first couple of play days. Literally 1 regular victory away, so 3 points away from finishing second for the entire year. But it just really sums up what their performances were like. They struggled, and that's flowed through to stage 1 here. They really haven't found their rhythm. In fact, this is starting to look like the worst stage, at least I feel like I've seen this roster play in the past 12 months.
And of course, don't get it confused. We are definitely talking about Fury and not Knights. But I think you could, if Knights hadn't had the redeeming factors of their game against Renatus, maybe, who knows, that conversation would have continued, Dev, after their performance against Wildcard at the very start. But I mean, I'll let you have the floor here. Would you prefer to talk about Knights or Fury? Never mind, we'll talk about
Fury. Woo! Guess what? I got a great introduction for this team. This is the team that has won so far 3 rounds this season and lost 14. That is Fury. A fresh organization, a fresh face for the only roster returning from 2021 that hasn't made a single player change in their starting lineup. These are the same 5 core players that played last year. And it hasn't worked out so well for them so far. And with a 7-3 loss to IG, a 7-0 loss to Chiefs, they really need to be gunning for not only rounds, but actual points on the scoreboard here against Knights.
Well, that's really the big question. Are we going to see Fury with any points at the end of today? Or are they going to be on the donut, Raven? I feel like they are keeping to this donut. They will be the only team on 0 points by the end of today.
Yeah, like I think it's hard not to feel that, because not only did they have quite the dip in form from Playday 1 to Playday 2, they didn't net around it all on Playday 2, and it didn't feel like they were going to be quite honest. So look, I don't want to write them off from the start here. Knights have certainly had a bit of a hit and miss Playday 1, Playday 2 situation as well. I still feel like Knights are going to probably come away with the victory, but again, we've seen this roster in the past pull out some really, really big victories, so tonight might be the night.
Yes, absolutely. It could certainly be for Fury. They absolutely need points on the board. It's like we were saying, Raven. To sit there at the very bottom of the standings, not a single point on the board. I believe they're the only team to be thus. It's rough for them. That said, Knights haven't been perfect. There is a chance here for Fury. For Knights, though, we think that there's probably, I think, a high skill cap for this team. We've seen it in the past. But we're a bit untested with this lineup. I'm interested to hear your take. We've got Styx coming in from Fnatic. We've got Quiz coming in from the old Fury roster, funnily enough. He's now playing against his former organization. What do we really think of these 2 new players and what they can bring to Knights?
Look, I think Quiz is definitely still an unknown, but look, I heard some really great things about him locally. Similar story to Cairo that we talked about with Wildcard, right? Where he really has only participated at the lower tier level in Oceanic region. But here he is already up into the upper tiers in APAC. So look, he's had a decent start so far. Stiggs though, look, I think he's just as sharp as we all remember him to be. I think for Knights, it's just another story of them needing to kind of mold their system to work for them in this current iteration.
Yeah, and that's Knights for you, sitting in a position that they probably didn't expect themselves to be, struggling so much. Fury, on the other hand, this is a team that's been so consistently mediocre in APAC South, right? Like 5th place, 3 stages in a row. Coming into this year, looks like they might break that trend, but unfortunately probably in the wrong direction.
Yeah, no, it's not trending in the right direction, is it? But it does, I don't know, it's one of those things where I guess I'm still on the fence about, is this just a matter of there are some serious things with this roster that isn't clicking, that we can't really figure out from our side? Do they need to do a roster change? Because we highlighted already, they are a team that hasn't really done a whole lot with their roster between years, and they are the team that seems to be struggling the most. But at the same time, it could be just something small. Sometimes it is just a little thing that you just need to get past as a team, and suddenly it's like a snowball effect where things just start clicking and you start to post some better results and you post some better plays as a team, and all of a sudden the results are there in general. It's always hard to say from our perspective, but I think regardless, it's pretty obvious that Fury have some big things to work on and they need to make some change pretty quick.
Well, let's go for the map vetoes now and see where we'll be ending up. I really am gunning for something different. No, god damn it, it's Villa again. I was like, come on, give me a thing, give me a border, give me skyscraper, just something. But hey, I mean, Villa's a great map. We've already seen it once today. What can we say for Knights and Fury on this map? If I'm not wrong, this is actually where Knights got stomped on Playday 1 against Wildcard. That
is definitely correct. It was a 2-7 loss to Wildcard, so it was not close. Stomp is definitely a good word for that. And look, honestly, in recent history, it hasn't been that great for Knights. They had a 4-7 loss to Bliss in the Oceanic Nationals finals on Villa. They had another loss at a local level, or in a local tournament that was 2-7 on Villa. It was actually against Elevate, funnily enough. So, you know, a lot of those recent results haven't fared too well. Going back to October is the last victory I see from Knights on this map. But, of course, their roster has changed. It's a new year. It's a new meta. It can be hard to say how these maps kind of stack up in Stage 1 this year.
I've dug up some stats from Fury back when they were Q-Confirm on this map, and they've played it not that much at a regional level, just a couple of times in Nationals. A lot of really close results. An 8-6 win over a team called Champion in the Thailand Operation League. Another 8-7 win over Elevate, believe it or not, in another non-regional tournament back in November. But I guess we know that Q-Confirm, or rather Fury now, have some experience on this map. Is it enough to stack up to Knights? Hard to say, because like you said, the results of Knights have, as of late on this map, haven't been too stellar.
No, they haven't. And look, Villa is one of those maps where it will kind of highlight if you have some synergy-based issues, or like your team isn't quite gelling. It does require a bit of coordination. Obviously, there are a lot of flank points, for example. If you're trying to attack, you have to be pretty on point with your drone placements, pretty on point with actually people manning the drones. That's another thing that's quite challenging, right? It's one thing to have the drones in the right spot, but if all players are live and no one's watching them, you're going to get flanked. That can happen quite frequently on Villa. Just in general, it does require some pretty decent coordination. So yeah, if your team's not really clicking or on point, it will get exposed.
Now we know we're jumping into Villa. Let's start breaking down a little bit more Knights, because we've already seen them play this map once, and we can dive into their roles and how that's been changing a little bit. So bringing on Stiggs, it seems like he might actually be playing a bit more of a supportive role than at least I initially expected, taking maybe some of that away from Juicy or sharing that load with him. And of course, knowing that Dino has left the roster, and he was not only helpful in the support occasionally, but also as a voice of the team, I wonder what's Stiggs' value really coming from a team like Fnatic, so prestigious yet not really achieving a lot during his tenure there. Is this a good move for Knights? Is this a valuable pickup?
I actually think long term it's a really good call. I think Juicy, we've spoken about it locally a lot. You know, I feel like Juicy, I wouldn't say he's wasted on a hard support role, but he's pretty sharp. Like, he's pulled out some really big plays already in the last couple of play days. So I think Juicy getting more into a little bit more of like a flex role is really good for Knights. On top of that, Stiggs has always had a history as quite a vocal player, certainly has a strong opinion on how he feels C should be played. And that's great. Like, you definitely want that person to be maybe your hard support or like a secondary IGL or whatever you want to call it. So I think transitioning him into that role after the experience he's been able to get on Fnatic, and just in general the experience he has, I think it builds a really good backbone for Knights. And then if you think about who you've got left, Josh, super sharp, always, nets really well on cost stats and even just KD stats. Same with Sage. Man has some absolute insane games sometimes.
Sage is nuts. I will simp out Sage any day of the week. Like, he is actually nuts.
Yeah, he is. It's very sharp. And like, I think once everything clicks for Knights, like, I feel like the roles they have now, just based on appearance, seem good to me. And I just think it's about getting that time under their belt. And I feel like I've said it a whole bunch in this pre-show, but really it's about just grinding through into that natural synergy as a team.
The dark horse for me is Quiz, the only player that we didn't really touch on when we listed out all the Knights guys. He's the most rookie player, maybe even in the league as a whole at the moment, because he's actually never even played at a national level, right? Like, because they qualified, the old Fury roster qualified for OCN at the end of 2021 from playing Oceanic Challenger League, and he was on that roster immediately before playing a single nationals level game. He's here at a regional level playing for the Knights, and I think Quiz has always had a reputation as a really sharp player. We haven't necessarily seen that as much as of yet, though.
No, definitely not. But again, only 2 playdays. Look, maybe he's starting to feel the pressure, or has felt the pressure a little bit more, and hasn't been able to kind of comfortably get out of his shell as a player. But I think he's been able to hold his weight in general. Like looking at the stats from the first couple of playdays aggregated, he's not that great in terms of rating, 0.72, but it's also not at the bottom. There's nothing that I'm looking at and being like, oh, that's a red flag, feels like he's not fitting. I think he's just holding his own for a little bit. Might be just a matter of time until he starts to kind of excel.
It's going to be a proving ground for Quiz, but a proving ground for both of these teams who are chasing greener shores. And to take us through the game, it is Xenox and Guz. Take it away, guys.
It's another game of crossroads, Gus, isn't it? Do or die, Fury, the only team that have not picked up any points so far here in APAC South. For the Knights, as we know, struggled a little bit to start the season off, but rebounded against Renatus last week in Playday 2. Do they continue that little renaissance for the Knights, or can Fury find their first points? It's big for both teams. If Fury don't find points, their chances are top 4. I mean, I'm happy to then put a line through them.
Oh, big call there from Xenox. I think for me, this is a huge game for Fury. They've been absent so far this stage, a little bit like Rob in the pre-show, much like their Thai counterparts, looking to find their first points of the stage. Very much looking forward to this game. It's not going to be, in my opinion, the greatest game of Siege of the night, but it could well be the most competitive.
Is it going to be the best Villa game of the night, though?
Oh, the last one was pretty good.
The last one ended up being all right. Of course, for those who missed it, our first game of the night was Elevate and Wildcard. It was a close one. It was 4-4, and then Elevate won the last 3 rounds to take it out and get their first points. All 3 points, to be exact, for the stage. As we head back to Villa for the second time in a row, Flores gets banned out. This time around, it was Jackal that was banned first, and now it's banned second. I was referencing the last game, of course.
Okay. Thanks for that one. That's quite good, actually. Not really.
Jackal's very strong on Villa, of course. No real surprise to see that get banned out once again.
Yep. We sit and wait for Fury's second ban, first of the defense here on this map. Mute taken off the board. Okay, that's pretty intriguing. Mute, quite a jack of all trades operator at the moment, quite powerful. The utility strong in denying drones and reinforced walls, and the added benefit of having a shotgun to set up site as well.
Yeah, I don't tend to see Mute get really banned out all that often. We'll see Pulse get taken off the board too, which is going to leave a lot more defensive options actually available. Pulse being quite prevalent on Villa. Whenever you basically have any kind of map that really entrusts a lot of defense, that vertical defense, obviously Pulse is going to be a big factor. We saw quite a bit of it actually in our first game as well, not too long ago too. So interesting bans coming out this time, whereas I think in our last game there were more conventional bans. These ones less so as we head in. It's Knights on defense first, Fury on the attack.
I need your professional opinion, Jake.
No, you don't.
No, I really do.
Okay, what is it?
So it's slightly off topic, but it's also on topic, so go with me on this.
Okay.
I'm trying to think about when is the most optimal time to order my dinner for the night. Now, it's saying about 40 to 50 minutes, and I want to time it so that it's ready when the next game begins. How long do you think this game's actually going to go on for? When should I order?
I think you should order it now, because
you think it's going to be a quick one?
I think it's going to be Knights, like 7-2.
Oh, I kind of want to back you in on that, but it's also a bold
Because I'm
call.
seeing Fury already picking into apparently a Blitz Amaru round, so this might be a very quick opening round. And with the Finker as well, this might be a, hate to say it, Blitz attack.
Maybe. Fury looking to come out of the gate strong here. Lots of aggression. Their entry on the map has been their weakest point in this stage so far, often struggling to get a foothold in the map and actually applying any pressure on towards the defense. Normally, also from what we've seen so far, they've been on the receiving end of that. And there's probably nothing more frustrating than on the attack in a competitive game of Siege, being unable to even get inside of a map in a meaningful manner. So we'll wait and see as Fury poise for this aggressive take in the first round.
Yeah, and by aggressive, it's aggressive and it is fast and furious. Juicy goes down immediately. They did lose Spacehead though on the Amaru. That didn't quite work, and it looks as if this is not going to be all that great for Fury in the end. In fact, Dark just gets sat down as well. Mopey on the Blitz didn't really get anything done, and now only Lycolis remains, although obviously with the Adrenal Surge gets Mopey back up, low on health and now dead, and that is a very quick round. As I said, guys, order that food.
I must say, the first round not instilling me in too much confidence, but I don't want to order that food just yet, because if it arrives outside, I won't be able to grab it, and it will get cold. So I'm just going to hold that for a second. That was a rush round, bit of a 50-50. Knight's doing a great job in shutting it down. Did it look like the Amaru through 90 had much of an impact, shut down from bar? The Blitz did a bit of damage over towards top round, but then the conversion in towards site not working out there. The Knights poised, ready, communicating that push really, really well. They didn't let the frenzy of the push overwhelm them. And I think that's a pretty good start.
Don't know if it was touched on, but of course, as I said, Mopey's name coming in tonight for Producer Boom. Can't help but think that that is just a one-off. Producer
Maybe.
Boom
Is it though?
Well, Producer Boom's a really solid player for Fury, so I
Has
don't.
been.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. We know that Mopey's a sub, but other than that, not much else to really go off of for tonight and why he is included. So we'll just stay cautious on that one. But I kind of wanted to bring it up because Fury is obviously the only team, guys, this entire stage that technically didn't make any changes for their roster.
Yep.
And yet now, 1 week gone, and the sub comes in. So maybe there might be something to that.
And the analogy, I've probably used it before, but I'll say it again. It's almost, I don't think Fury have taken a step backwards from last year, but they certainly haven't taken a step forward like a lot of other teams have, where they've innovated and improved upon their play style, and it's better suiting the meta, etc. Fury have got themselves stuck in quicksand a little bit. Last year for them was very much up and down, and at the end of it, it averaged out to a middle of the pack sort of finish. It wasn't inspiring us, and I don't think it would have been inspiring themselves with much confidence that this year was going to be a breakout year for them, and they played super, super well. And the first couple of Playdays have shown us that it kind of has followed that trend. Now, it's not to say, I'm not trying to absolutely ravage Fury here and say they're no chance, but we need to start seeing at least some promising signs that they're on the horizon of improvement. And they're a long, long way away from that at the moment.
And the other part to take into it, 7-3 loss to IG, 7-0 loss to the Chiefs. You know, those are very damning stat lines. 3 rounds is all they've actually won coming into the third Playday. So it's something that they need to work on, is just getting rounds on the board, being competitive in these games. We know Fury in the past, back when they were Q-Confirm, you know, they made playoffs in Stage 2. So they're a good team, good players. It's just about putting it all together.
Ex-Kairos expended by Lycolis, none left. Really good impact from Stigs. Uses 2 impacts and almost completely has now stifled this attack. Was still very electrified. Hard breach off the board. How did Fury come back from this round? I think at this point their only win condition is a full rotation, which they'll commit to now. But over half the rounds expended, Knights, knowing there's a rotation taking place pretty soon, will be able to adjust their defense accordingly. And already off the bat, this should be a Knights round win quite easily.
And still 3 gas babes as well for Juicy to deny time elsewhere and really block some of the passageways onto site. Only 1 minute left. Hajime over towards Master Bathroom. Knights well and truly in position to win this second round, get off to a great start here on Villa. That's going to be the first gas babe used by Juicy. Over towards Astro. Sage has such an... he's absolutely no way that anyone knows that he's there. Spacehead opens up the account, swings into Sheet. We'll get the easy kill, though, onto Spacehead. 4 versus 4, 35 seconds left.
They just need to push through. this defense. It's going to be so tough. Sticks holding down the line, finds one, makes it two. Hajime and Dark fall like dominoes, and now like Colas and Mopi to try and bring this round back. Not unwinnable. It could still be salvaged. There's one. There's a second. Now Sage reconvenes over towards landing. 50 HP on the board.
Can play for time. Can play for time
on the
here.
ground.
There's not much time. Like Colas is low. Mopi is taking a bit of damage too. Oh, does he swing? Yeah, like Colas just goes for it, and yeah, and it falls back. Really well played from Sage. The game sense to just fall back, and knowing time is on his side, that it's Fury that need to hunt him down. So don't play into that. Fall back over towards 90. Really well played. Yes, maybe a bit of a sloppy finish to the round, Guz, because I thought when Steegs got the double in Astro, that was probably the round. Well, credit to Mopi, got one back and one elsewhere. Fury could have almost snatched that, but they didn't.
They did a good job to fight it in the mid-round, and I'm sure most people watching are going to be getting into them and attacking them for how they performed in the 2v1. Yes, admittedly, that was not played very well, but it was the start of the round that was so disappointing. The hard breach there was just not the play from Fury. They expended the X-Kairos like it was going out of fashion. They had no hard breach backup. Props to, I believe it was Stiggs, if I remember correctly, with the perfect impacts to deny them. But from that point onwards, of course, Fury, they were forced to rotate, and then they had the complications of Sage lurking down below. It all just compounded. And again, to the mid-round, particularly over towards Astro, they did a great job to find some really critical kills. But it was such a time-sensitive round, and I'm sure they were frazzled from the way it started out, that it always meant they were on the back foot, and it was a very challenging round for them to win. If they could tidy that up going forward, as we see the ace brought into play, maybe that will edge them out a little bit here in the third round. It is the tertiary site, and Knights looking to lock out that 3 straight.
Gotta remember, it was only a week ago that Knights played on Villa against Wildcard, and well, they got pretty much reamed, right? It was a 7-2 scoreline. Only found one round in the attacking half, one round in the defensive half. Couldn't get anything to go. I mean, it was a disaster. Wildcard were great, but the Knights just really couldn't get anything. This is a much better looking Knights lineup. Stiggs off to a good start, found a couple of kills at Astro. Juicy on the Thorn, as we're starting to see Thorn get picked ever so slightly more. He's still only Playday 3, but it is popping up every now and then, as you've mentioned multiple times. Very solid gun. I still don't think we've seen the Razor Bloom really have that much of an impact, but we'll see if the Knights can make something of it here for kitchen dining.
Josh, what can he do? Might be able to find a couple of drones. Only 6 remaining for Fury. So again, the early round not quite going their way. Josh holds down the line. Dark just walks straight into that angle and take a low. A good trade for Josh, who now aggresses. Trying to find the opening pick, now caught off guard, but he still wins the fight. The swing from Dark for the trade hits the mark though, 4v4.
Yeah, and it might just slow down off the back of that too, which I don't know really who does that benefit. Quiz towards landing, still has Red Stairs control here for the Knights. You lose to Sophia, you lose the Kaid. I think that's fair both ways. It's not really going to have that much of an impact. Getting closer to that 1 minute mark though, and this is where again Fury could find themselves, just as they did in the last round, almost out of time towards the late round. And while they've been okay in the mid round, the late round execution needs to be done quicker.
Like Colas drops Stiggs, good find for him. 50 seconds in the round, Sage still lurking. Made a big impact in the last round offside as Colas doubles down. Quiz to find one back. Colas with a good angle. A good point of entry, but immediately shut down. The swing from Sage, opening up the round once again for the Knights. It started to look good again in the mid-round for Fury, but Sage will punish them. Spacehead taken down. The Knights for 3 straight.
Yeah, look, how many times have we said it in the past in a joking matter? Sage is switched on. Sage is on. 7 and zip to start in the first 3 rounds here. And I think it was something that I brought up last week when they beat Renatus. When Sage and Josh are playing well, Knights play well. Knights get results when they play well. Now, it's not ideal that you are not, I don't want to say putting pressure on them to be the ones to stand up and to be performing. It's just the reality of it. You know, you want your fraggers, you want your best players to be performing. And when they do, when Sage and Josh are fragging, Knights are still scary. And to think, you know, you get a result here against Fury, that's 6 points, that puts you in a good position to keep fighting for a top 4 place, sets up, as I said before, that tantalizing match next week against, oh, actually, no, not even next week, this Saturday, against Elevate. That could be almost the decider. So, great start for the Knights. Concerning for Fury, though.
I'm really liking this storyline, to be honest, around Sage, because last year I think he showed that he's a really good player. And at his best, I would put him in that sort of top 5 of the region. And Dev had an interview with him last year. His head is well and truly screwed on right, and he has a really good read on the game, really good discipline outside of it as well. And big expectations come along with that. And heading into this play day, he's been middle of the pack, and their 1.02 rating, but much like the rest of the team, that's probably what you would expect from their performances. So to see him stepping up in this matchup, and that last round in particular, huge plays from him over towards Dining, I guess backing up the fact that he is so dangerous. Maybe just taking a little bit to fire up here in the stage, which again correlates with the Knights, maybe just taking a little while to find their stride. Not expecting Fury to be their most difficult opponent by any stretch during this stage, but it's nice for them to just come out of the gate strong. Have a big win here. It doesn't matter who you're playing against. Every team in APAC South is still a worthy opponent. You have to respect them to an extent, and to get a good dominant win here will serve them very well.
It is looking like, though, Fury could end up being the punching bag this stage, which would be quite disappointing because we think back to last year, and the beauty of APAC South was from 1 to 8, it was very close, minimal point differences. And yet it's almost shaping up to be just that little bit more top heavy this stage to start off 2022 at the unfortunate expense of Fury, because right now, this is the damning statistic. Through 3 play days, they are 3 round wins for 17 round losses. That is awful. Percentage-wise, they need to start just finding round wins. Forget about actual game wins. Forget about 3 points. Forget about 1 point. They just got to get themselves into these games. So far, they've lost like 12 or so rounds in a row. I mean, this is just not looking good for them.
Yeah. Baby steps for Fury for the remainder of this game, and dare I say it, the stage made the call last week that last is looking very much a possibility for them, if not a certainty. And as time goes by, it just becomes more and more apparent that they are not quite at the level they need to be competitive here in APAC South. And it's so disappointing.
Yeah, that's
so
the
disappointing.
thing. Yeah.
Because we know at their best that they can take it up. They had such a long-standing rivalry with Elevate, for example, trading blows. And we know that they can be such a strong team, but they have always just failed to take that next step. And as every team has seemingly gone forwards, they have been left stuck in the mud. And unfortunately, that analogy probably reflects some of their attacks. Just really struggling to get in towards the map. Knights having free reign here over towards Stat, and Fury not having a response as of yet.
Oh, that's just unfortunate timing for Spacehead. When it rains, it pours, and right now it's pouring all over Fury. Their attack has just been so uneventful. They lose the sledge, and Spacehead, obviously their star player, Quiz. Now that's a little bit sloppy, yet like Hollis can't punish her. I thought he was dead to rights. Just left that window all to his lonesome. Stiggs does fall. Knights have got a couple of low players. Quiz gets an easy one. That's defused it down on top of the bed in Master Bedroom. Minute 40 left into the round. Here in the 4th, easy headshot for Mopey and gets it onto Quiz. And remember, Josh is low on the Thorn. Juicy, full health smoke, has 3 gas babes, needs to get involved on the front line.
This is the respect factor we talked about. I think the Knights may be pushing the envelope a little bit too much in this round. Sure, you've won the first 3 straight, you have great confidence, and you're willing to contest map control, but probably overstepping the line there. Props to Fury, they punished them. They can now reset. 3 drones sent out with a minute 20 available, so they have a huge pocket of time to work with here. They can drone outside, make sure no one's lurking on red stairs, for example, or tucked away in a corner. No one's holding 90, and that should give them the confidence and the free will to now push forward. Unfortunately, though, Lycolis did die, so the hard breach once again compromised here for Fury. That means that they'll need to try and push through model, maybe send a player down long as well to create that pincer. But again, time is on their side, so they can make this work. Man advantage as well, clearly on their side as well.
No more adrenal surges available from Hajime. Gas Babe slowly going out from Juicy, knowing time is of the essence, 30 seconds remaining, looking to just try and block off some entryways. Hajime repelling. This better work out, because time is not that much on the side of Fury and has forced a 2v2 for the time being. At least does get studied control. But it seems like Josh has made his way into games. 15 seconds left. They have absolutely been methodical here. Oh, Juicy could swing, and it's so unfortunate that he just didn't really hold the angle. Instead, he walked into the doorway. Fury get the round. They get a much-needed round.
A lot cleaner there from Fury, able to dismantle an overly zealous roam there from the Knights. Some smiles as well. Great to see. Wasn't a bad start necessarily for the Knights. They did get that open Nitro, but then they probably went a little bit too far. A lot of aggression over towards Bedroom. The diffuser obviously dropped, but Fury able to pick that back up. Big amount of time, big chunk of time to drone ahead, and they just got the job done. Like Coles with a late rotation as well to make things even more difficult for the Knights, and they finally get around to the ball.
Yeah, I mean, better, right? And that's really what Fury need to be approaching each round to set out to achieve, to just be that little bit better and a little bit cleaner. Yeah, there's probably some mistakes from Knights, but Fury still have to be there to capitalize, and they did just that. Now it's about being able to take that one round and multiply it, get a couple in a row, get some momentum on your side. It's not impossible to come back from a 0-3 start. It really isn't. We've seen it all too far often. It's just about staying with the Knights here, because the Knights obviously switched on. They had a great start. Sage 7-1. Steaks is playing well. Quiz is playing well. And you know Josh is going to continue to find frags, and really they don't need to rely on Juicy to get kills, but yet he can do so quite freely. So solid team that has started well, and Fury, if they can respond here, could do so much for their confidence as a team.
Expecting a pretty aggressive roam here from the Knights. We could see silhouettes down below. And the kind of fragging power you would expect to make that work. In response, though, Fury, again, the Nook being dabbled in here by the attack. Can try and sneak forward past any of those default cameras or any drones collected by Josh on the Mozzie. Very strong kit, nades as well, but it's dark to get the first pick. A lot sharper here from Fury.
Yeah. Way better at just being able to be quite clean early on in these rounds. I think you said the first couple of rounds, their mid rounds were good, but now the early game just started to be a bit better. As it was in the 4th round, now in the 5th round too. And getting rid of Josh, nice, great player. He's gone now. Dark having a good game, just quietly 6-3 now. It gives Fury such a significant advantage, especially on Stat Trophy, where that vert play is so important. They've got full control down below. Sage, though, still lingering. Does he have an impact? Does he try and push his way through sheets and maybe swing? Actually, he's in basement.
Well, he could go for a pantry flank there. I think there might have been a drone pre-established though, so he needs to be careful. In fact, it's just up ahead. You can see Dark.
Beautiful. Beautiful work, Observer.
Remember that later in the round if the flank does come into fruition. In the meantime, though, Fury need to begin working sight. 2 minutes now down, 60 seconds to go. A nade from below could open up the round. 6 available here for Fury. So something should be found. Util, all players, either or would be great. Now for the hard breach. Lacked last time, but like Colas with the exothermic on the thermite. We'll pop that open straight away, but it gets impact tricked. You can hear it in the background. Good response there from the Knights. Again, delaying more time. It's becoming a big point in this round. The time alone is going to cost Fury if they don't speed things up.
Oh, they're struggling a little bit here as well, and they haven't been able to even have a look in towards Astro. That's exactly what we saw Lycolis want to do. Then he's had to come back over to the wall. 25 seconds left. This is all Knights to win from here, despite being a player down. It's Juicy who opens it up, gets rid of Dark. Quiz is still worried about impacting the wall, and he's done it again. 15 seconds left. Wall is going to stay up for the rest of this 5th round, and now it's Fury that are just going to funnel in. Quiz should be able to at least get 2 here. Sage is the one that gets 2 in the kill feed. Elsewhere on the map, it's only Hajime left, and Quiz was watching the whole time. Got the job done on the wall. The impacts were flawless. They get the job done on the round. Knights with a 4-1 lead.
The hard breach from Fury in this game has been infuriating. It has been really, really, really rough to watch. But the credit has to go where the credit is due. The Knights with their impact tricks have been phenomenal. And despite the efforts there, the best efforts from Fury to tuck the exothermic in the wall by pre-sledging the reinforcement doesn't work out. And that limited their routes in towards the site. It limited the pressure they could place on the likes of Quiz. The Knights able to mop up elsewhere, able to tidy up in response to that early game, which from Fury was amazing. It was so clean. But unfortunately, it did unravel, and the Knights now really establishing some serious dominance in this first half.
Yeah. They got that one round on AVG. You thought maybe Fury could, I don't want to say snowball off of that because it's only the one round, but at least build from that. And while that last round wasn't completely awful for the entirety of it, when it got down to that sort of final minigame, they just capitulated. To the credit though of Quiz, right, with the impacts and being able to deny the exothermic. There's a large part of that really is also down to him being able to get those nades up and over. So Knights right now by far and away the better team, and the scoreboard well and truly reflecting that here too. It's concerning for Fury because you start to wonder, I know this is only the third Playday, but it's a 7 Playday season. Where are their wins going to come from? You look at that leaderboard and I question where wins are going to come from. So points are hard to get for them, and you know, against a Knights team that has been up and down, you know, demolished by Wildcard, beat Renatus, don't know quite what you're going to get. Well, you're getting the very good Knights right now.
Same setup again here up above. Double reinforcement on the triple wall and Josh holding down the line. Almost thought that was the Yana, but obviously a cloak. Dark though to follow up aggressively, and Josh responds with the Nitro. Josh has been such a sleeper in this match. He's been having such an impact though. It hasn't felt like he's been having, you know, lighting up the kill feed, multiple kills each round, but he has been significantly holding back these attacks with these extensions, doing a super good job, and that's a great way to open up the round for the Knights.
Sage up to 8-1 though. Obviously, when you think about kills and that impact, well, he is definitely setting the pace there. Minute 35 remaining here in the final round of the first half, and it is all Knights. Social vote said all Knights. The caster prediction said all Knights. The game, well and truly, is all Knights so far. Things can change though. But down a player now, backs up against the wall for Fury. What have they got to turn this around?
Well, they need to find something. Again, I look up the clock, 60 seconds to go. What has Fury achieved? Bit of control up above and a bit of pressure, but players still isolated outside. Like Colas with the diffuser in hand. Probably expecting him to go out towards Laundry. Hajime through the drone hole, that's a Claymore. Very typical spot, and unfortunately for the Knights, it's overlooked. Josh taken down. A delayed trade from Fury, but it keeps them in this round.
Yeah, gives them that sign of hope that maybe they could pinch this round, get it to a 4-2 scoreline, and hope this ends up being a defender-sided Villa. Gives hope for the second half. Spacehead gets through to Stiggs. Ping. Quiz follows up. He's been so good. Goes back down. Hajime falls elsewhere. Now it's a 2 versus 2. Sage into Sheets. And Quiz over towards China Room. 20 seconds remaining in this round. Wall still up and still electrified. So Sage is very much protected on site. Both full health, nades in hand for Quiz, and like Colas and Spacehead, already the information well and truly known to the Knights. It's a 5-1 half. Again, the mid-game, not that bad from Fury. It's the late round execution that continues to let them down. A very solid half, though, from the Knights.
Not too much to fault the Knights on there in the first half. A bit of a blip on the radar as they drop around, but outside of that, looking cool, calm, and collected. The most cohesive we have seen this revitalized roster so far in the stage. Confident all around there on those defensive efforts. Now we switch roles. Knights over across to the attack. AVG, they'll set their sights on that for the first round. Fury need to muster up a response. We said before that it's been a disappointing start for them, and maybe the goal of winning games is not a realistic prospect at the moment. It's more so about nailing down rounds and taking a round by round approach. Honestly, it serves teams well. And if you want to mount a comeback in this particular matchup, and
well, is that where really the team should be? Because they're the only team that came into the stage with no roster changes. They have made a playoff appearance in Stage 2 last year. They're clearly a team that has experience and has played together into a stage where you've got every other team making a minimum of 2 changes. I don't know if this is where they really should be on their timeline, and I don't think this is where they expect it to be.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse it.
I think they would say the same. And if this trend continues, it's not going to be long until we see roster changes. Either that or I don't even know. Things get very dark. I think there needs to be changes at some point across the line. If this continues, this might just be a very rough start to the stage. I don't want to again write them off because we know that they can play well. But
it would be a very, very rough stage. I don't know. Spacehead almost gets just eliminated by Styx that easily. I mean, and even Spacehead, who obviously is the clear standout star player for Fury, hasn't got going at all this stage.
Yep.
I know they're missing Producer Boom in this particular game, but I mean, they got 7-0'd with him anyway last week. And obviously, IG kind of tore them apart 7-3 and Playday won. There are issues. There are issues right now for Fury. It's just a matter of, can they as a team overcome those issues and come through it on the other side for the better? Juicy just literally waltzes on through Astro. Clean headshot onto Spacehead. Ajame just has to fall back and watch as Moby falls over at landing and goes for the swing. Can't even land that. Oh, never mind. Actually did find the elimination onto Josh, but was traded immediately by Juicy. This round is over. I think this game alongside it is over. It's 6-1 coming up very shortly.
Knights with the choke hold. Squeeze a little bit harder, and I think Fury might pop. Tough to see them coming back, as you mentioned, from this round or the match as a whole. Maybe even the stage. Never feels right to rule out a team this early, but look at that. The Knights too sharp. Fury silenced. In the first 3 play days here of APAC South 22, no roster changes, and doesn't look like there's much hope for them either. Dark, though, tries to mount something sharp. 1v4, the nade drops, but he survives.
Wow.
Juicy, though, to recollect that pick, and Knights on match point.
Love the synergy there from the Knights. Nate goes through. Juicy knows he's forced up the top of Brown stairs and just watches and waits. Match point. And what has been a dismal performance from Fury. Knights have been great. You've got to give them the plaudits. There's been little moments from Fury, but for the most part, Knights by far and away have been the better team. It's not being close, as the scoreboard does suggest. 6-1 match point. If Knights make this a 7-1 result, Guz, it'll be 4 rounds won to 21 rounds lost in their first 25 rounds of the season.
Jeez. It's pretty grim.
It's very grim. I think it's the most grim we've seen a team in APAC South. I might
be a good
take
start.
a quick little wander. Back in Stage 1 last year, it was a -14 round differential for Wildcard. They picked up 6 points. Stage 2, the bottom team had 8 points, which was Order -6, so they were still at least competitive. And Stage 3 was -3, Knights with 7 points. And I don't think this Fury roster is getting anywhere near those kind of point tallies or round differential numbers. This could very well be, historically, our worst team ever in APAC South if they can't turn it around in the second half of this stage.
Attackers' objective is to locate a bomb and defuse it.
Jeez. It's really, really tough at this point to see that come into fruition. They're lagging behind the competition quite significantly at the moment. And top 4 make it to the APAC playoffs to face off against the top 4 from APAC North. All those teams battling it out for a spot at the upcoming major. That's a discussion that Fury may not find themselves in, unfortunately. If they do end up losing this game in regulation, no points, 3 play days. You do the math, that leaves 4 play days, and they'll basically need to go flawless from that point onwards, considering how tight the mid-table is. So something is going to have to kick into gear. As well, this is Fury not with their full roster. There was maybe an inkling that could change things for the better, but it seems like it's honestly same. So that would suggest that the fundamentals for Fury, the core roster, just not quite up to scratch at the moment. And is that a meta issue? Is that a current map pool issue? Not sure. Is it a continuation from last year? It could be any of those things, but it'll be up to Fury to do some soul searching over the next few weeks to try and nut out those issues really, really quickly, because they don't have a large window of opportunity to bounce back.
Trying to find some sort of solace of hope, but Dark's been pretty decent. 7 and 6. it's not, you're kind of scraping the bottom of the barrel and trying to find any semblance of good news from Fury out of this. So you'd just be lying to yourself at this point. I mean, there's still time. I mean, the game's not over. Josh though has a ping onto Hajimate. The nade doesn't quite land entirely the way he would like. Dark over towards red stairs.
The bomb diffuser. Attackers recovered the diffuser.
It's not impossible to come back from a deficit of 6-1. It's been done before. It's just a matter of how much do you want to keep fighting and to keep plugging away at it. And considering for Fury, it's really all about as many rounds as they can kind of get under their belt and to improve on. You've really got to be treating each round here so importantly.
Nothing to lose at this point. Give it all you've got. See what you can produce. For the Knights, though, it's all about closure. Josh, red stairs, bad timing, shut down. Dark with a good entry there for Fury. Sage follows up, though. A delayed trade onto Spacehead. 4v4 as Quiz enters over towards Study. Now, this is on the other side of the map. Stat objective. Hajime close by at Skull, but another quick trade. Sharp from the Knights.
It's still better, though, from Fury. They're finding picks, holding good angles, holding good positions. I mean, a little questionable from Josh. Didn't quite fully clear red stairs. He just kind of did a half-hearted attempt at doing that, but still better from Fury. They lose like Colas though to Stiggs, and now he's in the master bedroom. Trades flying all around the map. It's only Dark that remains. Does get rid of Stiggs though. Now on 1 versus 1 to keep this game alive, and it's not possible. Quiz will finish it all off. 7-1 is the final result here. The Knights far too good against Fury. A damning statistic, 7-1, and also now 4 rounds won of 25 rounds played for Fury. 0 points, the only team after 3 play days that will be still on that donut.
Fizzles out a bit in the end there, but the Knights, they get 3 points for their troubles. A good match all around, and a couple of players really kicking into gear. Great to see that this team is meshing together nicely, but ultimately an expected win, and for most teams I think Fury will be an expected win at the moment. Honestly, things are really just looking poor for them at the moment. Really rough to watch. A team that for the entirety of 2021 mid-table looking really cruisy, ups and downs, but for the most part we're competitive against every team. Same cannot be said at all here throughout 2022 so far. Yes, an opportunity to rebound. Yes, an opportunity to come back, but as weeks go by, that window of opportunity, it becomes slimmer and slimmer and slimmer and slimmer, and even on a round-to-round basis, it's so tricky to see glimmers of hope. So fingers crossed for Fury and for the Fury fans, they can begin to mount a comeback, but I think it's going to be a really long road for them.
They've got Direwolves for their next Playday on Saturday. A tough one for them. Big, though, for the Knights. They should be very happy with that result as we go back over to the desk.